Hello everyone, today's topic is blood supply of the brain. Our brains are absolutely dependent on a continuous supply of well oxygenated blood. After just 10 seconds of brain ischemia, we lose consciousness. After 20 seconds, electric activity ceases, and after just a few minutes, irreversible damage usually begins. Corresponding to this metabolic dependence, blood vessels in the central nervous system, particularly in grey matter, are arranged in a dense meshwork. An understanding of the brain's blood supply is essential to an understanding of its normal function and of the consequences of cerebrovascular disease. Cerebral arterial supply, it is composed of two arterial systems, carotid system and vertebro-basilar system. The arterial supply of the brain and much of the spinal cord is derived from two pairs of vessels. The arteries are directed in essence to the grey matter, which needs more blood than the white matter. Superficial cortical arteries supply the grey matter on the surface. Perforating arteries supply the subcortical nuclei. Both sets of arteries send branches to the adjacent white matter. The internal carotid artery, this one, and the vertebral artery, this one. The internal carotid arteries provide about 80%, supplying most of the telencephalon and much of the diencephalon. The vertebral system provides the remaining 20%, supplying the brainstem and cerebellum, as well as parts of the diencephalon, spinal cord and occipital and temporal lobes. Number 1, the internal carotid artery. The internal carotid artery, this one, this is common carotid and this is internal carotid. The internal carotid artery is a major paired artery, one on each side of the head and neck. They arise from the common carotid artery, where these bifurcate into the internal and external carotid artery at vertebral level C3 and C4. In this diagram we can see this is internal carotid. Internal carotid lies in close relation with this optic nerve. Along its course, the artery is divided into four parts: cervical part, petrous part, cavernous part and cerebral part. Cervical part lies in neck, petrous part lies in petrous part of temporal bone, cavernous part in the cavernous sinus and cerebral part in the relation of base of brain. An angiogram of internal carotid show S-shaped figure called as carotid siphon. So this is internal carotid artery. This one is lowermost cervical, then petrous, then cavernous and uppermost is cerebral part of internal carotid artery. Internal carotid, which forms part of blood supply of brain. Now some details about this cerebral part of internal carotid artery. This cerebral part, this is internal carotid, cerebral part. Now this cerebral part, it gives rise to ophthalmic artery. This is ophthalmic artery, arises from cerebral part of internal carotid. So this cerebral part, it gives rise to ophthalmic artery, which travel along the optic nerve to the orbit. This is orbit, where it supplies the eye, other orbital content and some nearby structures. The internal carotid artery then proceeds superiorly alongside the optic chiasm. This is optic chiasm and bifurcate. Now in this diagram we can see this is internal carotid. It proceeds superiorly alongside the optic chiasm and bifurcate into, this is middle cerebral laterally and this one is anterior cerebral anteriorly. Before this bifurcation, it gives two smaller branch. Number one, anterior choroidal. This is anterior choroidal, this one, and this is posterior communicating. So these two branches, anterior choroidal and posterior communicating, they arise from this internal carotid before its bifurcation. Again, this internal carotid, it bifurcates and gives middle cerebral laterally and anterior cerebral anteriorly, and before its bifurcation it gives two branches, this anterior choroidal and posterior communicating branch. Now some details about the anterior choroidal and posterior communicating artery. This is internal carotid, this is middle cerebral, this is anterior communicating, and before its bifurcation, this internal carotid, it gives anterior choroidal and this posterior communicating branch. So some details about this anterior choroidal artery. Anterior choroidal artery, long thin artery that can be significant clinically in that it supplies a number of different structures and is frequently involved in cerebrovascular accidents. Along its course, it supplies the optic tract, choroid plexus of inferior horn of the lateral ventricle, and some deep brain structures such as portion of internal capsule, basal ganglion, thalamus, and hippocampus. And this posterior communicating, this one, this is posterior communicating, passes posteriorly, inferior to the optic tract and towards the cerebral peduncle and joins the posterior cerebral artery. This is posterior cerebral. So this posterior communicating joins this posterior cerebral posteriorly and form part of vertebral artery system. This posterior cerebral is part of vertebral artery system. Now next branch of this internal carotid in brain is anterior cerebral artery. In this diagram we can see this is internal carotid, it gives middle cerebral laterally and anterior cerebral anteriorly. So now next is anterior cerebral artery, runs medially, enters the longitudinal fissure. The two anterior cerebral right and left near the entrance into longitudinal fissure connected by anterior communicating artery. The anterior cerebral artery then arches posteriorly following the corpus callosum to supply medial parts of frontal and parietal lobes. Distal to the anterior communicating artery, the anterior cerebral artery gives two branches. This anterior cerebral artery, it gives two branches. Medial striate and recurrent artery. This is recurrent artery of Hubner, supplying basal ganglion and internal capsule. Then continues as the pericallosal artery. This is anterior cerebral. This is anterior cerebral artery. It gives recurrent artery of Hubner and then continues as along the corpus callosum, it continues as pericallosal artery. This is pericallosal artery. This is corpus callosum, rostrum, genu, trunk and splenial part of corpus callosum. Near the genu of the corpus callosum, the callosomarginal artery, this is callosomarginal artery. Near the genu of corpus callosum, the callosomarginal artery typically branches off from this pericallosal. This is pericallosal. So this pericallosal artery, it gives callosomarginal artery, this one. So this is anterior cerebral. First it gives recurrent artery of Hubner, then it forms an arch and then it gives callosomarginal artery and then continues as pericallosal artery and follow the cingulate sulcus. Occlusion of an anterior cerebral artery causes restricted contralateral motor and somatosensory defects affecting the leg more than other parts of body because of the somatotopic arrangement. Now next is middle cerebral artery. Middle cerebral artery, the large middle cerebral artery proceed laterally. This is middle cerebral. The large middle cerebral artery proceed laterally into the lateral sulcus. It divides into a number of branches that supply the insula. This is, in this diagram we can see, this is middle cerebral. Proceed laterally into the lateral sulcus. It divides into a number of branches that supply the insula. Emerge from the lateral sulcus, spread out to supply most of the lateral surface of cerebral hemisphere. Most of the precentral and postcentral gyri are within this area of supply. So, occlusion of a middle cerebral artery causes major motor and somatosensory defects. In addition, if the left hemisphere is the one involved, language defects are almost invariably found. Along its course towards the lateral sulcus, the middle cerebral artery gives rise to as many as a dozen very small branches that penetrate the brain. This is middle cerebral artery. Penetrate the brain near their origin and supply deep structures of the diencephalon, telencephalon. The particular arteries are called the lenticular. This is lenticulostriate artery. This is. So, along its course towards the lateral sulcus, middle cerebral artery gives rise to a dozen of very small branches that penetrate the brain near their origin and supply deep structure of the diencephalon and telencephalon, and particular arteries are called the lenticulostriate arteries. Now next are perforating arteries. Perforating arteries are numerous in area adjacent to the optic chiasm. This is optic chiasm. So, adjacent to optic chiasm there are numerous perforating arteries, and these perforating arteries forming this perforating substance. This is anterior perforated substance and this is posterior perforated substance. Perforating arteries particularly numerous in area adjacent to the optic chiasm and in the area between the cerebral peduncle. For this region they are called the anterior and posterior perforated substance. The narrow thin walled vessels of the anterior perforated substance are involved frequently in stroke. The deep cerebral structure they supply are such that damage to these small vessels can cause neurological defects out of proportion to their size. For example, the somatosensory projection from the thalamus to the postcentral gyrus must pass through the internal capsule. Damage to a small part of internal capsule from rupture or occlusion of a perforating artery can cause defects similar to those resulting from damage to a large expanse of cortex. So, in this diagram we can see this is anterior cerebral, this is internal carotid, this is pericallosal artery, callosomarginal artery, recurrent artery of Hubner. Now, next system which supply blood supply to brain is vertebro-basilar system. First one is system by internal carotid artery, and this second system is formed by vertebral artery. The two vertebral artery, this right and left vertebral artery from subclavian artery vertebral artery arises from subclavian artery, unite to form this basilar artery. It divides at the upper border of bones into the two posterior cerebral arteries. So, this vertebro-basilar system, some details about this system. The vertebral artery arises from this subclavian artery. This is vertebral artery. One on each side of the body, then enter the foramen transversarium at the level of the 6 cervical vertebra, or occasionally in 7.5% of cases at the level of C7. They then proceed superiorly in the transverse foramen of each cervical vertebra. Once they have passed through the transverse foramen of C1, the vertebral arteries travel across the posterior arch of C1 and through the suboccipital triangle before entering the foramen magnum. It then runs rostrally alongside the medulla and fuse at the junction between the medulla and pons to form midline basilar artery, which proceed rostrally along the anterior surface of pons. So, this is, in this diagram we can see vertebral basilar system. This is subclavian artery, and from subclavian artery arises this vertebral artery in foramen transversarium and along the arch of atlas, and this is vertebral artery, right and left side, and right and left side of vertebral artery, and finally it forms basilar artery. In this diagram again we can see this is vertebral artery, right and left side vertebral artery, and at the lower border of pons it unite and form this basilar artery, and upper border of pons this basilar artery it gives this posterior cerebral artery. This basilar artery bifurcates and it gives posterior cerebral artery. Before joining the basilar artery, this is right and left side vertebral artery. So, before joining the basilar artery, this vertebral artery it gives rise to 3 branches. Posterior, this is posterior spinal, this is posterior inferior cerebellar, and one is anterior spinal artery. The posterior spinal runs caudally along the posterior lateral aspect of the spinal cord and supply the posterior third of cord. The anterior spinal artery join together forming a single. This is anterior spinal. Forming a single anterior spinal artery that run caudally along the anterior midline of spinal cord and supplying the anterior 2/3 of cord. The posterior inferior cerebellar artery, often referred to by the acronym PICA as its name implies, supply much of the inferior surface of the cerebellar hemisphere. Now, next artery is basilar artery. This is basilar artery formed by union of 2 vertebral artery. This is basilar artery. Proceed rostrally at the level of midbrain, it bifurcate. This is at the level of midbrain, this basilar artery bifurcate and it gives this 2 posterior cerebral artery. Before this bifurcation, it gives rise to numerous unnamed branches and 2 named branches. So, branches from the basilar artery are, this is superior cerebellar artery, this is antero-inferior cerebellar artery, this is labyrinthine branch, and this is pontine branch. So, these are the branches of basilar artery. So, number 1, anterior-inferior cerebellar artery. This is antero-inferior cerebellar artery, also called as AICA, arises just rostral to the origin of basilar artery and supply the more anterior portion of the inferior surface of cerebellum as well as parts of the caudal pons. Next is this superior cerebellar artery arises just caudal to the bifurcation of basilar artery and supply the superior surface of cerebellum and much of the caudal midbrain and rostral pons. The many smaller branches of basilar artery collectively called pontine branches. These are pontine. Supply the remaining of the pons. Next one is labyrinthine branch or labyrinthine artery or internal carotid artery, which often a branch of this labyrinthine. Sometimes it is a branch of this anterior-inferior cerebellar artery. Although hard to distinguish from the other by appearance, it is functionally important. This one is important branch because it also supply the inner ear. Its occlusion can lead to vertigo and ipsilateral deafness. This labyrinthine branch. So, basilar artery, its branches are superior cerebellar, pontine, labyrinthine and antero-inferior cerebellar artery. Now, posterior cerebral artery. This is posterior cerebral artery, curves around the midbrain and passes through the superior cistern. Its branches spread out to supply the medial and inferior surface of the occipital and temporal lobes. Along the way, it sends branches to the rostral, midbrain, and posterior parts of the diencephalon, including the thalamus. It also gives rise this posterior cerebral. Posterior cerebral, this one. This is posterior cerebral. At the upper border of pons, this basilar artery bifurcates and it gives posterior cerebral artery. It sends branches to the rostral, midbrain, posterior part of diaphragm, including a thalamus. It also gives rise to several posterior choroidal. These are posterior choroidal branches. This is posterior cerebral. It gives posterior choroidal artery which supply the choroid plexus of third ventricle and the body of lateral ventricle. Anterior and posterior choroidal arteries form anastomosis. The primary visual cortex is located in occipital lobe, so occlusion of a posterior cerebral artery at its origin leads to visual field loss in addition to other defects referable to the midbrain and diencephalon. Now next detail about this blood supply of brain. Next point is about cerebral arterial circle also called as circle of Willis. This is arterial sulcus. The circle of, this is arterial circle. The circle of Willis is a part of cerebral circulation composed of right and left side internal carotid, right and left side anterior cerebral, right and left side posterior communicating, right and left side posterior cerebral. So this arterial circle is formed by internal carotid, anterior cerebral, anterior communicating, posterior cerebral, and this posterior communicating and posterior cerebral artery. The middle cerebral artery, this one, this middle cerebral supplying the brain, are not considered part of this circle. So this middle cerebral, it didn't participate in formation of arterial circle. The posterior cerebral artery is connected to the internal carotid artery by the posterior communicating artery. This is posterior communicating. So an arterial polygon called the cerebral arterial circle of Willis, the French call it more accurately the polygon of Willis, through which the anterior cerebral, internal carotid, these are anterior cerebral, internal carotid and posterior cerebral arteries of both sides are interconnected. It is named after Thomas Willis, an English physician. So this is some details about this arterial circle called as circle of Willis. Now next, arterial supply of other parts of brain. Corpus striatum and internal capsule are supplied mainly by central branches, medial and lateral striate arteries of middle cerebral artery. This is middle cerebral artery, and to some extent by central branches of anterior cerebral artery. Thalamus is supplied mainly by central branches of posterior communicating, posterior cerebral and basilar artery. Midbrain supplied by posterior cerebral, superior cerebral and basilar arteries. Pons is supplied by basilar, superior cerebral and anterior inferior cerebellar arteries. Medulla supplied by medullary branches of vertebral artery and branches from posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Now blood supply to cerebellum. This is cerebellum. It is supplied by superior cerebellar artery from basilar artery. This is basilar artery. This is superior cerebellar artery. Antero-inferior cerebellar artery, and this is posterior-inferior cerebellar artery. So blood supply of this cerebellum is through superior cerebellar artery, antero-inferior cerebellar artery and posterior-inferior cerebellar artery. Now blood supply to spinal cord. The spinal cord is supplied with blood by three arteries that run along its length, starting in the brain, and many arteries that approach it through the sides of the spinal column. The three longitudinal arteries are called the anterior spinal and right and left posterior spinal arteries. These travel in the subarachnoid space and send branches into the spinal cord. They form anastomosis via the anterior and posterior segmental medullary arteries, which enter the spinal cord at various points along its length, supply blood up to cervical segments. Arterial blood supply below the cervical region comes from the radially arranged posterior and anterior radicular arteries, which run into spinal cord alongside the dorsal and ventral nerve roots. These intercostal and lumbar radicular arteries arise from the aorta, provide major anastomosis and supplement the blood flow to the spinal cord. Largest of the anterior radicular arteries, known as the artery of Adamquist, which usually arise between L1 and L2, impair blood flow through these critical radicular arteries, especially during surgical procedures that involve abrupt disruption of blood flow through the aorta. For example, during aortic aneurysm repair can result in spinal cord infarction and paraplegia. So, in this diagram we can see this is cut section of spinal cord, area supplied by posterior spinal artery, and this area supplied by this anterior spinal artery. Now, next topic is venous drainage of brain. The veins of the brain drain into the intracranial dural venous sinuses, which eventually open into the internal jugular veins of the neck. The veins emerge from the brain, traverse the subarachnoid space, pierce the arachnoid mater and meningeal layer of dura mater to drain into venous sinuses. Characteristic features of venous drainage of brain, veins of brain are: venous return in the brain does not follow arterial pattern. Veins of the brain are extremely thin walled due to absence of muscular tissue in their walls, possesses no walls, run mainly in subarachnoid space. The cerebral veins generally enter obliquely into dural venous sinuses against the flow of blood in the sinuses to avoid their possible collapse following an increased intracranial pressure, as they are thin walled. The veins of the brain comprise cerebral veins, cerebellar veins, and veins of brain stem. Cerebral veins. So, brains are cerebral veins, cerebellar veins, and veins of brain. So, first is cerebral veins. Cerebral veins divided into external internal cerebral veins, which drain the external surface and the internal region of cerebral hemisphere respectively. External cerebral or superficial veins, cerebral veins, drain the surface of hemisphere and are divided into three groups: superior, middle, and inferior. So, number one is superior cerebral vein. Superior cerebral vein. This is superior cerebral vein. 8 to 12 in number, drain the upper part of superior lateral and medial surface of hemisphere, enters the superior sagittal sinus. So, this superior cerebral vein, this vein enters the superior sagittal. This is superior sagittal sinus. Next is middle cerebral vein, 4 in number. Superficial middle cerebral vein. This is superficial middle cerebral vein. It lies superficially in this lateral sulcus. Anterior it runs forward to drain into the cavernous sinus, while posteriorly it communicates with this superior sagittal sinus via this superior anastomotic vein of Trolland, and with the transverse sinus via the inferior anastomotic vein of Labbé. So, this is superficial middle cerebral vein. It communicates with superior sagittal sinus via superior anastomotic vein of Trolland and inferior and with the transverse sinus. This is transverse sinus. It is this superficial middle cerebral vein connected with this transverse sinus via the inferior anastomotic vein of Labbé. Now, next is deep middle cerebral vein. Lies deep in lateral sulcus on the insula along with middle cerebral artery. It runs downward, forward, and join the anterior cerebral vein to form basal vein. Third one is inferior cerebral vein. Many in number, they drain the inferior surface and lower part of medial and superior lateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere and into nearby interneurovenous sinuses. Example, transverse sinus. So these are some details about cerebral veins, superior, middle and inferior. In this diagram we can see this is superior cerebral vein which is visible, and this is superficial middle cerebral vein, and deeper one is lies in deeper content of this brain and form basal vein. So next, some details about other veins. Anterior cerebral vein, this is anterior cerebral vein. It accompanies, this is anterior cerebral, it accompanies the anterior cerebral artery around this is corpus callosum, and drain the parts of medial surface which cannot be drained into a superior inferior sagittal sinus. This anterior cerebral vein, this is the only large vein of the brain which has a similar name and course as its companion artery, anterior cerebral artery. Other vein is basal vein. In this diagram we can see this deep middle cerebral vein, it form basal vein. So next one is basal vein of Rosenthal. In this diagram we can see this is basal vein, this is formed at the base of brain in the region of, this is anterior perforated substance by the union of three veins. Which three? Number one is anterior cerebral, then deep middle cerebral, and this striate vein. So this anterior cerebral, deep middle cerebral, striate vein fuses and form this basal vein. The striate vein emerges from the anterior perforated, this is anterior perforated substance. So this basal vein, it runs posteriorly around, this is midbrain. This basal vein, it runs posteriorly around the midbrain, medial to the uncus and parahippocampus, and terminate in this great cerebral vein of Galen below the splenium of corpus callosum. This is basal vein. Tributaries of this basal vein. Beside the formative three veins, the basal vein receives the tributaries from cerebral peduncle, uncus and parahippocampus, structures of interpeduncular fossa, optic tract and olfactory trigone, and inferior horn of lateral ventricle. So this is some detail about basal veins, basal vein of Rosenthal. Next is internal cerebral vein. These are, this is, in this diagram we can see this is internal cerebral vein. These are two internal cerebral veins located on the either side of midline in tela choroidea of the third ventricle. This is internal cerebral vein. Each internal cerebral vein is formed at the interventricular foramen of Monro by the union of three veins: thrombostriate, septal, this is septal, and this is choroidal. So this internal cerebral vein, it is formed by the union of three veins: thalamostriate, choroidal and septal. The two internal cerebral veins runs posteriorly, one on either side of midline between the two layers of tela of third ventricle, and unite together beneath the splenium of corpus callosum. This is septum pellucum, this is corpus callosum. So beneath the splenium of corpus callosum to form the great cerebral vein of Galen. This is great cerebral vein of Galen, which empties into the straight sinus. The thalamostriate, septal and choroidal veins are the most important deep veins of cerebrum, as their name implies. The thalamostriate striate thalamic vein drains the thalamus and basal ganglia, septal vein drains the septum pellucidum, and the choroidal vein drains the choroid plexus. Now next is great cerebral vein of Galen, formed by union of two internal cerebral vein, receive two basal vein and join inferior sagittal sinus to form the straight sinus. Tributaries are internal cerebral vein, basal vein, veins from colliculi, veins from cerebellum and cerebrum. Now next, some applied aspect of blood supply of brain. Clinical anatomy. Imaging techniques allow artery and vein to be visualized. Blood vessels can be visualized with most imaging techniques by finding a way to make the blood contained within them differ in some way from surrounding structures. What is cerebral angiography? The cerebral angiography is a radiological technique to visualize the vessels of the brain. A radio-opaque solution is injected into one of the major arteries supplying the brain, and serial radiographs of skull are taken at approximately 1 second intervals. The injection into the common carotid artery or the internal carotid artery carotid angiogram shows the distribution of middle and anterior cerebral arteries, whereas the injection into the vertebral artery permits the visualization of vertebral, basilar and posterior cerebral arteries together with their branches. The cerebral angiography is valuable in identifying vascular malformations and aneurysm. It is also provides useful information about occlusive vascular disease and space occupying lesions. Thrombosis of lateral stride branch of middle cerebral cause motor and sensory loss to most of opposite side of body except lower limb. What is hemiplegia? Hemiplegia is a common condition. It is an upper motor neuron type of paralysis of one half of the body, including the face. It is usually due to an internal capsule lesion caused by thrombosis of one of the lenticular stride branches of middle cerebral artery. Cerebral thrombosis. One of the lenticular stride branches is most frequently rupture. Cerebral hemorrhage. It is known as Charcot artery of cerebral hemorrhage. The lesion also produces hemiplegia with deep coma and is ultimately fatal. Thrombosis of Hubner's recurrent branch of anterior cerebral artery causes contralateral upper monoplegia. Thrombosis of paracentral artery, terminal cortical branches of anterior cerebral artery causes contralateral lower limb monoplegia. Occlusion of anterior cerebral artery. In this diagram we can see this is anterior cerebral artery proximal to this is anterior communicating. So occlusion of this anterior cerebral artery proximal to anterior communicating artery is normally well tolerated because of the cross flow. This is cross flowing. Now distal occlusion of this anterior cerebral artery result in weakness and cortical sensory loss in the contralateral lower. This is distal. Distal occlusion of anterior cerebral artery result in weakness and cortical sensory loss in the contralateral lower limb and associated incontinence. This artery supplies the area of lower limb and perineum. So in this diagram we can see this is anterior cerebral, this is anterior communicating. So occlusion of this anterior cerebral proximal to anterior communicating artery is normally well tolerated, and distal occlusion result in weakness and cortical sensory loss in the contralateral lower limb and with associated incontinence. Now arterial disorders. Stroke, sudden occlusion of blood supply. It can be hemorrhagic, ischemic and aneurysm. In this diagram this is hemorrhagic stroke and this is ischemic stroke. Hemorrhage into blood tissue and clot stops blood supply to an area of the brain. Now occlusion of anterior cerebral artery distal to anterior communicating arteries. In this diagram we can see area supplied by anterior cerebral artery, middle cerebral artery, sorry, this is posterior cerebral artery. In this diagram this area supplied by middle cerebral artery, this is anterior cerebral artery and this area supplied by posterior cerebral artery. So occlusion of this anterior cerebral artery. Contralateral hemiparesis and hemianesthesia involving mainly the leg and foot due to involvement of upper part of primary motor and sensory areas and paracentral lobule. Inability to identify the objects correctly due to involvement of superior parietal lobule. Apathy and personality changes due to involvement of part of frontal lobe. Occlusion of this middle cerebral, this area and this area. Contralateral hemiparesis and hemianesthesia involving mainly the face and arm due to involvement of most of the primary motor and sensory areas. Aphasia if left dominant hemisphere is involved due to involvement of motor and sensory speech areas. Contralateral homonymous hemianopia due to involvement of optic radiation. Occlusion of posterior cerebral artery. Contralateral homonymous hemianopia due to involvement of visual cortex with some degree of macular sparing. The macular vision is spared because it is represented in the occipital pole, which receives a collateral supply from the middle cerebral artery. Anastomosis exists between the branches of middle and posterior cerebral arteries in the region of occipital pole. Now, what is stroke? Stroke results from disruption of vascular supply. Cerebrovascular disease and accidents are the most common cause of neurological defects. Normally, about 55 ml of blood flow through each 100 gram of CNS per minute. This is a little more than the CNS needs to survive, but any significant reduction of this perfusion rate rapidly causes malfunction or even death of neurons. Reduction to about 10 ml per 100 gram per minute for more than a few minutes initiate processes that result in necrosis of the involved brain tissue. A necrotic region of tissue is called an infarct. An abrupt incidence of vascular insufficiency is called a stroke. Bleeding into or immediately adjacent to the brain can also have stroke-like consequences called a hemorrhagic stroke. Ischemic stroke, those caused by sudden blockage of blood flow to some part of the CNS, are most commonly caused by a thrombus, a blood clot formed within a vessel, or an embolus, a bit of foreign matter such as part of a blood clot or an atherosclerotic plaque carried along in the blood stream. Subarachnoid hemorrhage. It results from leakage or rupture of a congenital aneurysm or the circle of Willis. The sudden symptom includes severe headache, stiffness of neck and loss of consciousness. The diagnosis is established by withdrawing heavily blood-stained CSF fluid and through a lumbar puncture spinal tap. What is aneurysm? Aneurysm, dilation, are balloon-like swellings of arterial walls. They occur most frequently at or near arterial branch point. So, occlusion occur at arterial branch points. Those close to brain usually occur in or near the anterior half of cerebral arterial circle, although they are also found at other locations. An aneurysm can cause neurological defects in two ways. As it grows, it may push against and compress brain much as a tumor. It also can rupture and cause a subarachnoid hemorrhage that depend on its size and location and can have disastrous consequences. So, this is all about blood supply of brain. So, again a quick revision of this topic is easy to remember the details of blood supply of brain. So, first we start with blood supply. First is cerebral arterial supply, which lies anteriorly and posteriorly vertebrobasilar system. Anteriorly is carotid system and posteriorly is vertebrobasilar system. So, this cerebral arterial supply combinedly formed by carotid system anteriorly and vertebrobasilar system posteriorly. Anteriorly, these are internal carotid, it gives anterior cerebral anteriorly, middle cerebral laterally, posterior communicating posteriorly, and posteriorly there is two vertebral artery arises from subclavian artery, and midline these vertebral artery fuse and form basilar artery, and basilar artery then gives posterior cerebral artery. So, this is circle of Willis. Internal carotid artery, vertebral artery, parts of internal carotid, cervical, petrous, cavernous and cerebral part. Then cerebral part, it gives ophthalmic artery, middle, and this is middle cerebral, this is anterior cerebral, this is anterior choroidal, this is posterior communicating artery. Now, some details about this anterior choroidal and this posterior communicating. Now, anterior cerebral, it runs anteriorly and two anterior cerebral artery connected by anterior communicating artery. Recurrent artery of Hubner, Then pericallosal artery, this anterior cerebral, it turns and give recurrent artery Hubner, and then it arches around this corpus callosum, and near genu it gives callosomarginal artery, then it gives pericallosal artery. The next branch is of internal carotid is this middle cerebral and lateral sulcus. It gives lenticulostriate artery, then anterior and posterior perforated substance. Then next posterior system is vertebrobasilar system, posterior part of arterial sulcus. This is subclavian artery, this is vertebral artery. Right and left side vertebral artery, and this is basilar. Branches of vertebral is anterior spinal, posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Now the basilar artery, it gives labyrinthine, pontine, ancho-inferior cerebellar and superior cerebellar artery. Now next is posterior cerebral artery, it gives posterior choroidal arteries. Now the posterior cerebral artery, arterial circle, this is circle of Willis formed by anterior communicating, anterior cerebral, internal carotid, posterior communicating and posterior cerebral artery. Other part of brain, blood supply of cerebellum, spinal cord by anterior posterior spinal artery, then venous drainage of brain, cerebral veins, superior cerebral vein, superficial middle cerebral vein, superior anastomotic vein of Tourette and Labe, anterior cerebral vein, this is anterior cerebral vein, and next is basal vein, this is basal vein of Rosenthal formed by anterior cerebral, deep middle cerebral and striate vein. Next is internal cerebral vein, cerebral angiography, hemiplegia, arterial disorders, occlusion of anterior, middle and posterior cerebral artery, strokes, subarachnoid hemorrhage and aneurysm. So this is all about blood supply of brain. Thank you very much.